study for the IELTS with me. I'm going to share to you the format in IELTS writing task 1, which is to write a letter. Guys, I wrote the entire structure. We have first the opening salutation, the letter purpose, the body of the letter, the rounding off statement, and the closing salutation. Don't worry, I'll share some more info for each of these. Reminder lang na you need to write a minimum of 150 words within 20 minutes. We have to, of course, identify that there are 3 different tones when writing a letter. We have a formal letter, semi-formal, and informal. This is a mock IELTS test for task 1 for writing a letter. We need to, of course, first read the entire question and identify kung ano ang tone or what is the tone of this question. You live in a room in college which you share with another student. However, there are many problems with this arrangement and you find it very difficult to work. Write a letter to the accommodation officer at the college. In your letter, describe the situation, explain your problems and why it is difficult to work. Say what kind of accommodation you would prefer. So guys, in this example, we are writing to the accommodation officer at the college. So that is the recipient of this letter. We will know the tone of our letter by identifying the recipient of the letter. So I will give you an example of who are the recipients and which tone sila na belong, okay? So, for example, yung friends mo, family mo, boyfriend, you have a close personal relationship, informal yan. Okay? Informal ang tone ng letter mo. However, if you have a working relationship naman, like your co-worker, your teacher, your landlord, semi-formal yan. They are people na kilala mo, you have working relationships with them, but you're not that close compared sa informal because diba, informal are like family members, friends, close people, ganyan. So, everyone else na hindi nabanggit are formal. So, mga people in businesses, people in organization, and just like dito, accommodation officer at the college. So we will assume that you don't have any close relationship with this person because it's an accommodation officer, hindi mo siya roommate, diba? Guys, there are different opening salutations per tone. So kung formal siya, you need to use this, dear sir or madam. Tapos make sure na you have this comma at the end. Tapos kung semi-formal naman, you have to use dear Mr. last name. So, kunwari, ang last name is Smith. So, dear Mr. Smith. Ganyan. If informal naman, you will say hi, tapos name. We don't need to be formal with this one kasi nga informal. So, hi John or dear John. The letter purpose is the purpose of what you're writing this letter for. So, in this case, the sender of the letter has a problem with accommodation, diba? So perhaps the letter purpose will start with, I am writing this letter to request for changes in accommodation or something like that. Done na tayo sa opening salutation, letter purpose. For the body of the letter, the content of the body needs to include all of these bullet points. So yun na nga, describe the situation, explain your problems, and why it is difficult to work. Say what kind of accommodation you would prefer. Guys, you have to make sure na all of these bullet points are written in here in your letter, okay? Because kung kulang yan, the maximum grade daw that you will receive is band 5 out of 9. Kasi kulang yung answer mo. So you need to address all of these bullet points. Write it in the body of your letter. Now, the rounding off statement is just like a conclusion ba? So, diba, we have a purpose of this letter here. Now, what is the resolution that you would like to happen? So, in your rounding off statement, you could say something like, I hope the situation would be resolved as soon as possible. The last part naman is the closing salutation. The closing salutation should match your opening salutation because it will still match the tone of your letter. And dapat consistent ka with your tone all throughout your letter. So from the opening salutation to the closing salutation, dapat the same lang ang tone mo, whether it's formal, semi-formal, or informal. In this case, dapat nasa formal tone tayo. So these are the different closing salutations. So kung formal, ganito dapat ang itsura. So yours faithfully, formal, For formal tone, for semi-formal, yours sincerely. Tapos for informal naman, all the best. Mga example lang to guys. There could be other closing salutations, but these are the ones that I find are easier to remember. Notice also na for formal and semi-formal, you need to put in your complete name. So for example lang ito, Kim Smith. Yours faithfully, Kim Smith for formal tone. Semi-formal, yours sincerely, Kim Smith. But for informal, all the best, just your name lang, Kim. So that is the entire structure or the format of writing a letter for IELTS Writing Task 1. Again, you have your opening salutation, purpose of the letter, body of the letter, rounding off statement, and closing salutation.